let's get to the news. All right, so here's what we got. This is great from The Guardian. Trump ally Mike Lindell of MyPillow pushes martial law at White House. Photographer snaps pictures of notes near West Wing. Visible words include move Kash Patel to CIA acting. Interesting. They say Donald Trump will be replaced as president in 5 days' time by Joe Biden. Trump continues to baselessly claim his election defeat by the Democrat was the result of fraud. The president has now said he disavows the violence this we get. Lindell has risen to prominence among allies, urging the president on his attempts to deny reality. On his Facebook page on Friday, the mustachioed seller of sleep aids wrote, "Keep the faith, everyone. We will have our president Donald Trump 4 more years." Later, a Washington Post photographer caught images of Lindell in which parts of notes he carried were visible. Among visible text were the words, quote, "Insurrection act now as a result of the assault on thee." And that's it. Then it says, quote, "Martial law if necessary," and, quote, "Move Kash Patel to CIA acting." The notes also referred to Sidney Powell, an attorney and conspiracy theorist involved in Trump campaign lawsuits meant to overturn election results in battleground states, almost all of which have been unsuccessful. Now we have the images right here. So this is tweeted by Jabin Botsford. MyPillow USA CEO Mike Lindell shows off his notes before going into the West Wing at the White House on Friday, January 15th. And you can see some things. We don't know what this is. I'll tell you right away what my biggest problem with this is. For all we know, at the top of the page, it says hypothetical, or it says recently, Lin Wood posted to Parler the following. And it could just be example text. It could be a reference. It could be fake. We don't know what it is or what he's supposedly talking about, why things are, there's redacted sentences on this page. The media just took a picture of this, zoomed in, and now they're running the story as though the MyPillow guy is like trying to stage a coup. And that's like the narrative now. It's trending on Twitter. So I guess let's just get down to it. Jason, is the MyPillow guy staging a coup?
I mean, very clearly. I will say this. So in the context of all the things that are happening and some of the crazy things that have been said by Trump loyalists, I understand why there might be the jump to conclude that these are his thoughts. You are obviously correct in that they do not have proof. He has since come out, I think it was the Washington Examiner he spoke to, basically say, no, these were notes from a lawyer. Now, I don't know if that clarifies, was the lawyer promoting this and you were then handing it to the president? Apparently the president had read it. They met for about 5 to 10 minutes and that was that. I think it's fair game to point out the crazy stuff on that sheet of paper.
Yeah.
I agree. Let's not go ahead and just automatically assume. But let's also not pretend that Mike Lindell has not said some crazy things.
He has. But am I allowed to just please live in the reality where the MyPillow guy is the mastermind behind this coup to take over, and help Trump stay president?
I thought I was supporting that.
Maybe he has a pillow fort. You don't know.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. Wow. How it's 2021. Things are supposed to chill out. I like that meme where it's like, yay, 2020 is over, and 6 days into 2021, and it's the Viking guy in the Senate building or whatever. And now it's day 15, and they're claiming the MyPillow guy is trying to tell the president to invoke the Insurrection Act. Maybe. I mean, he's tweeted about it, hasn't he? Hasn't he said it in the past? Something about martial law?
I don't remember if it was martial law specifically, but he's definitely sort of flirted. Certainly you've obviously heard people making this exact same claim. I've seen some of these tweets from random people, which is very odd if you're saying the president is not a dictator to then actually say, you should send National Guard to completely just call martial law. Doesn't quite work.
I was reading about World War II, man, because we had a comment the other day about the beer hall push. Is that how you pronounce it? I'm not entirely sure. Where in 1923, the Nazis tried staging a coup and got stopped. And so I've been reading a decent amount about history. I was reading about Italy. I was reading about the Soviet Union and Germany. And I'm just imagining, like, if in 100 years, some kid is, like, studying history, and it's like, in 2021, the CEO of a pillow company had met with the president, and, like, that's the catalyst for this. I'm reading about World War II, and it's like, they say, Hitler went in, they surrounded the beer hall. He jumps up on a chair and he fires a gun in the air, and then everyone stops and he yells, "It's the revolution." And it's this very dramatic reading of history about like what happened at this time. Now, he failed, of course. He went to prison for a short period of time, and then it was only like 10 years later he ended up getting elected. Am I supposed to believe that history will look back on this time and this is what like the future generations are gonna hear about? Like, we hear these really dramatic stories, these famous quotes. I mean, think about these famous quotes like, give me liberty or give me death. I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. We're going to have in 100 years, the CEO of the pillow company said, invoke the Insurrection Act because, cults and whatever.
I feel
and
like the
Biden.
quote, the quote's going to be, I'm taking many calls and many meetings all day.
I mean, think about it. That's kind of incredible how we got to this point. How is it? I mean, you know what? I wonder this. Is it possible that back in the day when these past statesmen and politicians, when they were saying these quotes, the average person just rolled their eyes and was like not that impressed by them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just listened to Herbert Hoover, I think it was, the president, 1928. He basically served us the Great Depression. Man, he was dry and boring to listen to. Really boring.
I'd rather have the pillow guy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
funny.
I'm looking at the news right now from the White House correspondent for the Washington Post, and he says, quote, talked to Mike Lindell this evening. He said lawyer gave him notes to share with POTUS, but repeatedly wouldn't say what lawyer. He said he met with Trump for 5 to 10 minutes, and then he referred to counsel's office, said the lawyers were disinterested, very disinterested, and that he allegedly shared this document with this Washington Post guy, and he goes on from there.
So
wait,
it doesn't say who the lawyer was.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't want to say who the lawyer was.
If it was Lynn Wood, would you believe that? I mean, it kind of depends now
Yeah, I
who the
totally
lawyer
would,
is.
yeah.
That's amazing. Because we have no conclusive evidence, I'm going to choose to live in the world where the pillow guy is colluding with Trump to,
I love it.
No, it's not going to happen. I mean, it really is strange how we've come to this point where people every day seem to think there's going to be some kind of big move by Trump, and it never happens. I look to some of the most prominent and vocal Trump supporters over the past several years, people like Scott Adams and Cernovich, and they're talking down. They're like, well, it's time to move on. It happened. It's, what are we going to do? Time for Trump to leave and things like that. And I still see posts on Facebook where they're like, tomorrow's the day Donald Trump's going to invoke. And I'm like, you said that last week, man, and nothing happened. Why is this? Why are there so many people on the left who are convinced that the Nazis have taken over? There was one journalist who tweeted literal Nazis stormed the Capitol. And I'm like, dude, the life magic shaman who thinks he's an alien, I don't think he's a Nazi, man. I think he's just unwell.
You know why I think it is? Because they've been dosing kids with aspartame since the 80s, and they're a bunch of grown kids thinking that they're still watching cartoons, and they're expecting like a fantasy ending.
Too many movies.
I don't know. I don't know about all that, but people just don't want to live in reality, man.
No, and let's be honest about the social media aspect of it. I mean, we tend to amplify the crazy. Yeah. That's what social media does, and that's why some of us are on it, right? Because we are fascinated by the lunacy, and that's all that this is. Now, does it strike me as a little bit more lunacy than at least I expected? Yes, because even, on my radio show, as I talk about what happened and I call it a riot and I say the president was wrong, I didn't think it was impeachable, but I did say he has some responsibility here. Immediately, you just get immediately attacked that you're not allowed to criticize Trump at all. And as much as I don't like the whole cult of personality narrative and talking point that has been used, this was the first time, at least, I've noticed it just outwardly absurd.
Yeah.
It just went too far. And, it's good to be loyal. It's not good to be blindly loyal.
I think many of us, because I've done so many segments defending the president. I think it was Dave Smith, the comedian, who pointed out that you want to criticize him, but the critics of Trump are so insane.
Yeah.
You're forced to look in the other direction and say, no. Like, they'll claim, Donald Trump could walk past a dog and smile, and they'll claim that he tried to kick it or something. Or like the fish thing with Shinzo Abe, where he poured the food into the pond because Shinzo Abe did, but they zoom in and make it seem like he did something wrong. So instead of being able to be like, Trump should do this better, the media is doing worse. So you're forced, now I think what's happening is we're at this point where most of them, especially those who had been defending the president, recognize he's out and Joe Biden is about to come in. But there are some people who are used to hearing the defense of Trump, who liked it, who have kept going. They've never stopped. So for, people like us, you mentioned on your show, you criticize or say things like it's over. We put the brakes on and we're like, well, as far as this train goes, and they just went off the tracks and they keep going. That's why it's crazy when you see Lynn Wood getting as many retweets as he was getting. Like that's he was getting like 20,000 retweets when he would say things like Mike Pence is a traitor and the firing squads. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, where's this coming from?
I tell myself it's a lot of people retweeting and saying this is insane because I don't
But
want
they're
to
not-
believe.
No, but these are not quote tweets. Like, you can quote tweet and say, this guy's
Yeah.
nuts, because I did. And then I had a lot of people respond and say, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. And I'm like, sure, I guess. But come on, man. We don't
What
live
could
in a
possibly
movie.
happen? I mean, seriously, like, what could possibly happen? God bless the imaginations of a lot of people. And it pains me to say that because, look, I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. I supported Trump. I was critical when he deserved to be criticized, but I sort of had the same position of the other side has gone so over the top in criticizing everything. My natural tendency was to defend.
Right.
Even in instances where I wouldn't normally give that kind of leverage or leeway to a politician because of how over the top the other side
Seriously.
was.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too much. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because we've been told by the left for the last 4.5 years a riot like what happened or the siege was going to happen. We were told that. And every time they said that in the past, we're like, there's been no violence. Everyone relax.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there was actual violence on the left in which they completely ignored it. And then the time it does actually happen, and I'm not downplaying it, it was incredibly serious, symbolically way more damaging to this nation, I think, than 6 or 7 months of BLM riots or Antifa riots because of just what it stands for. But y'all didn't say anything then.
They defended it. Kamala Harris raised money for them.
It really is absurd, and it just feeds in to this culture, this environment that's allowing for this to continue. I don't think this is going to stop because of how people are reacting.
Jason, you made a good point before saying how people are fascinated by what's on social media. I would even go further and say that they're captivated by it. And because of the echo chambers, because of the censorship efforts, I would say that's one of the ingredients that is causing some of the madness that we're experiencing right now. Because if people were able to talk through, were able to communicate honestly without any censors, without being put into the dark corners of the internet, I think things would be a lot calmer. And I think now, with everything happening, it's only going to get worse because those same ingredients are only added on instead of being reduced to this crap pie that's in front of all of us.
The real money right now in political commentary, the left. Absolutely. If I was the grifter they claimed I was, I'd be 100% on board for Biden and all this Democrat stuff. And I'll tell you why.
The beanie would be pink.
Well, yes, and it would have little ears.
Yes.
No, here's the reason though. If you say things like what Lynn Wood is saying, oh, you're banned in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
If you say there was fraud or anything like that, they smear you, they defame you, they take away your ads, they boot you from sponsors, and they ban you outright. But if I were to do a show where I claimed Trump is a fascist dictator, this proves it, the Lindell meeting proves there's a coup attempt and we all must stay vigilant and that it's Russia and we know it, well, they'll promote it.
So it's a Joy Reid
They
show.
will boost it.
Yeah.
Right. Rachel Maddow. So that's the imbalance. There is money to be made by pushing the leftist narrative, even when it's unhinged. But on the right, you're banned in 2 seconds. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.